G'day all and welcome back to Murder Valley. Now I've had a bit of a hiatus from making videos and things because I've been really busy. So anyone who's watched my last video or two would know that I've bought myself a 3D printer and I have been busily working away trying to get stuff done. This body here, I got this made last week. This is a Resin Toyota Sprinter, or more commonly known around the world as an AE86. One of the things that I've been doing with the 3D printer is making myself a lot of tooling, etc. So now I've got access again to a 3D printer and a much better quality one than what I bought like 8 years ago. One of the things I'm doing now is just spilling all of my ideas that I've had over the last 7 years and just building things and getting things done. So the way that I used to resin cast bodies is I used to use this contraption here, which I made up. So I would mount the body on here, build up on clay, and build the space underneath it, so I could make the top mold. And then I would, of course, then take that off, put this body down back in the silicon, and then make another mold of the inside. So I've only ever had the one, and I'm not set up like a wood shop or anything, so repetition of trying to get things is a bit difficult for me to replicate the same thing over and over and if I'm doing it manually. So now I have a 3D printer. One of the things I'm working on is making 3D printed resin casting boxes. Now, I wasn't sure whether to share this at first, but I've decided I'm going to do it. So here we go. So this body has come out of this mold, and this actually has 3 pieces. Now you're going to say, why? So this one, I came up with the idea of putting venting in here. I've now gone away from that idea, but the concept was going to be make the outside mold, the inside mold, and then pull the silicon out of here, place it into this one, and these would be vents so it could vent. But now I've decided to go a different way, and it is this. So I would mount the body as per this one, but without the venting, to this bottom frame, make the top cast, or make the top silicon, and then put the body back in again, and then use this one here to create the bottom mold, and that gives me a good flange. What it does is it gives me registration, blah blah blah. One of the issues I was having, so back when I made my XB Falcons, my HQ Holdens, I've never had issues before like I had with those, where the wheel arches were in different place. They would differ up to nearly a millimeter. Now that doesn't sound like a great deal, but when you're dealing with small bodies and wheels having to line up, it's a lot. So I've come up with this idea to include wheel arches in the registration marks in the casting box. So I'm hoping that this will eliminate my problems, and that actually fits quite nice as per does the original diecast. So it sort of proves my point that it has actually worked. So, but this is what I'm going through. So these are things, that's about prototype number 5 or 6 or something, because sometimes the way my brain works is what I need to do is I need to do things over and over, trial them, see whether they work. So like other silly things, my casting resin, I made these up last night. So these, can't stand how short the spouts are in the bottles, because you normally just pour straight out of, there. I can't stand how short it is, so I decided to make up a longer pouring spout with a cap, and of course made them in different colours so I can tell which one goes back on where, so I don't have resin setting off from the top of the nozzle. And of course they're labelled A and B, not that that really matters, but, and I've also built spill trays up from this morning in case anything drips down. So yeah, that's that also, because the resin doesn't like being exposed to UV. Now it would have been smarter if I printed them all out of black, but still, I've made them out of those colours. They're a big visual difference. So that's easy. Now, on to other things. tool that I showed in one of my early videos, and now that I've got the ability to 3D print some things so I can get repetition in what I do, I've decided to revisit it. So here is a chassis, and here we have my old tension gauge and dial tension gauge, and I've made a plastic end for it. So I've now actually made this so it slides completely under. You push the chassis straight up. I am still yet to make a pivot point for here. I'm trying to work out the exact size, but this is a way, it's a cheaper method than buying a Gauss meter, etc., or some of the scales if you can't make your own. I think these dial gauges are somewhere around the $30 mark. So this is a cheap way. You can also get one with a second needle on it, so it'll register where it got to, which is probably what I should have bought instead of this one. But anyway, that's another thing I've been working on. And then when I'm working on my die-cast bodies and things, adding bits of styrene to them, one of the things I always use is super glue. And what I found is that if I put my super glue and I keep it upwards, the glue tip doesn't go solid if I mount it that way. And I went, I'm always looking for something, some way. So I finally got annoyed with it last night, and I've printed a bright orange holder. So now, and I've printed it pretty solid, so it's not going to fall over accidentally, and it's bright orange so I can see it. So there's another little one. It's just stupid little things as I've been coming across them. I'm like, I'll do a solution for that. And another one is a width block. So this was my first attempt, and every single one I do I improve. I like to think I improve on. So there's another one, and I've made it so the ends are complete on this one, so I don't get ugly patterning and things in the end of it like that. And I've got rails installed in there. Happy days. You can get underneath and you can check pin depth and pick up shoe alignment. You can see whether there's gaps underneath. But that is the internal of this is exactly the maximum width the Australian Hay Racing League used. So that in between the two sides is exactly 33.3 millimeters. So if your car fits in there, it's legal to race with. And it also gives you a good area because it's got metal rails in it, of course. You can pick up your magnet tension on the rail. So then, of course, this is the last version. So I've flattened up the bottom and everything. So this one's gold. Yeah, nice pun. Yeah, so it's gold. So it's the first time I've used the gold filament. So I can make these in all sorts of colours. I find being able to find tools on the workbench sometimes is one of the more difficult things. So on other things, here's one of the other. So when I go through and I'm putting, just a moment. Okay. So I've just gone off and got something while I paused. One of the things that I found really, really difficult with doing modifications to die-cast bodies is when I have a die grinder in and I'm grinding out for wheel arches so it fits over a chassis. Where's one? Just a minute. Okay, so obviously I can't make die cast flex over the outside of a plastic chassis, so I have to use a chassis without a motor, etc. Right? So one of the things that's difficult is I'm talking about registration. So in the same sense that I've got these little tombstones here, which are exactly the same diameter of the wheel arch required, not the wheel. So this is basically a tester when making a body to see whether it fits in the time when it's still a die cast. So I don't have the right one. Wait a minute. Okay, that seems like a short time to you, but it was a long time for me. Yeah, so one of the things that's really difficult when doing bodies, etc., is to make sure that when you're grinding wheel arches that you don't move off square. And it's still not the one I want. All right, stop looking, I found it. So what I've done is I've made these. Now this fits exactly in here. That is the maximum width of a car. So not only does this allow me to set height, etc., of a body and get the wheel arches right, but it also allows me to check my width. So if I center this up, I can make sure I've got the same gaps on either side. I can make sure the body's not twisted, because a few of my die casts that I put on before were a little bit crooked because I'm doing it manually. So now this is much better. But what makes this even better, what I have done is I have 3D printed flares. So what this allows me to do, I have these fitted into the back of this body. So now what it means is, if I put 2 wheel arches in, and I can use this as a registration mark to keep the body square as long as I don't modify these first, and all I do is I put the body on, I get blue texture, for example, scribble on the side of it, put a scribe line around, because of course the bright silver line in the blue shows up, and then I just grind out to the thing, and then I just glue the body straight on the arch, and then I shape it after. And that is exactly what I've done here. I've still got a little bit of, and then I've just smeared the lightest amount of filler. So I've given this one the lighter sand. I decided to give it longer to dry because it was only a couple of hours. But this one here, straight off my finger, look how good that is for straight off my finger. That won't need more than another fill. Probably I might need something light, like maybe a coat or two of nail polish or something, just to give me a rub back layer. Yeah, to get it nice and smooth. But there you go. So this is what I'm doing. So I've made front and rear wheel arches. Some cars obviously have less of a rounded wheel arch, some have a flatter. I may end up doing something like that, but I think this is a little stroke of genius, and I'm sharing it with you guys as a thank you to watching my channel. So because I really want to encourage people to have a go at resin casting. There's so many die casts and things out there, or if you just want to replicate an original body, there's just so many things. So yeah, so there you go. This is how I do it. If this is any help to you, let me know. As I get further through, because I've got to do heaps of bodies for racing. I've literally only got a couple of weeks to do it. So this is why I haven't put much up on, like, spent much time making videos, and I've been a bit quiet online for exactly this reason, because I'm just getting stuff done. But yeah, so this body here was the test, and yeah, so that's how it's come out. So what I'm going to do now for venting, instead of getting back to this idea, rather than this idea for venting, which is what I was looking for, I've decided not to do that. I'm just going back to putting vents in the actual body, so it'll come up through the silicone in the base of the mold. But yeah, I might have to, when I'm doing these, wax these up a little bit better so the resin doesn't stick on there, because that looks a bit ugly. But hey, it doesn't really matter as long as a good body comes out. And other things I've learned is that when things are upside down and you're working out which way to go, one of the ideas, I thought, I'll stick this on the side so I know which way to register it. Well, no, useless. On the front is what I actually need while I'm doing it. So I've got different ones for each body. So I've got Bulldog 1.6. I've got at the moment I'm doing a Magna Traction 1.4 because I'm redoing the original Porsche body. I will be putting my own mounts. So my next thing that I have to do, because this is great that I've got this, but the other piece of registration that I have to do, and that's what I'm working on, is where the slot goes for the body mount in the body. That is the next thing. I've got a method sorted out, but it's just a case of, it's difficult when you're doing a die cast body like this one, where the body is too narrow. If it was wider and I could just glue a mount in, that'd be easy. But it's trying to come up with a way to build a mount in here. Now I'm trying to get away from, I've already 3D printed some mounts, they're easy, but then I'd have to sit there and scallop out the shape of the back of the mount so it fits into this body squarely. So I think I've come up with another method that gets around the problem, but it's just one of those, it's one problem at a time to solve, and I'm just going through heaps of them. But that little Corolla. I reckon that looks unreal. That is one of my favourite Hot Wheels castings for 2024. I reckon that's the business, and I'm not even a Toyota guy. So there you go. But anyway, that's the sort of news and sort of feedback as to what I've been doing for the last month or two. Yeah, so more things coming, more things underway, plenty of things I haven't shown, and a lot of failures that I haven't shared because, well, what's the point? They don't work. So, but you know, when you try things and you fail, you move on. But don't forget, I also have had some successes. Not that one. So these are shims that I've made, so they clip straight on to a Mega G Plus, and then I've got more standardized style, just, you know, pull the wheel off the axles and shim those out, and of course they with the feeler gauge, if you haven't seen my video with that on it. Yeah, so just doing all sorts of things, because I actually miss when I used to race Wampies etc. down at Parramatta at G&D Slot Car Raceway back in the early 90s. Well, so when I say race, drive a car around a track, I never actually raced, but you used to be able to buy spacer sets like this for 124 cars, and they're not really a thing anymore, and I've never understood why. But how good is that in your toolkit? Easy to find. Easy to find is a good thing. But anyway, thanks very much for watching. I'll come back with my new bodies when they're all done, when I've got the rest of these, because I've got to work on 3 or 4 of them. So when I get there, I'll post my results on here. Thanks for watching. Thanks to all the, by the way, the new subscribers to the channel while I've been a bit quiet. I try to create content that might be of interest. There's no point in me doing stuff like news, etc., because who gives a stuff about news 3 months after it's been and gone? So I try to create content that's interesting, and it has some kind of longevity to it. That is sort of like the whole concept of what I've done about this channel and why I've done it. But yeah, so anyway, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.